A lamp goes dark. The television switches off, but lights in another part of the home still work. That usually means you are not dealing with a neighborhood outage. One circuit may have been interrupted by a breaker or a GFCI receptacle. In this lesson, I will show you the beginner safe checks you can make without removing a panel cover, touching wiring, or using a meter. You will learn how to recognize a simple trip, perform one correct reset, and know exactly when to stop. Electrical protection devices trip for a reason, so the goal is not to defeat them. The goal is to restore power only when the situation looks normal and safe. Before walking to the electrical panel, find out how large the outage is. Start with the device that stopped working. If it has a switch, make sure the switch is on. If practical, plug a known working lamp into the same outlet. Then check another outlet in the room and look into the next room. If only one appliance is affected, the appliance or its plug may be the problem. If several outlets or lights in one area are dead, a branch circuit or GFCI may have opened. If the entire home is dark, look for a wider utility outage, ask a neighbor, or check your utility's outage information. This video is about a localized outage, not a whole home electrical failure. Now pause and inspect before touching anything. Do not attempt a reset if you notice a burning or hot plastic odor, smoke, sparks, crackling, loud buzzing, unusual heat, scorch marks, a damaged receptacle, or water near the outlet or panel. Do not touch wet electrical equipment. Keep people away from the area and contact emergency services, the utility, building management, or a licensed electrician as the situation requires. The same boundary applies if the panel door is damaged, loose, badly corroded, or cannot be reached safely. A breaker is a protective device. When the surroundings do not look ordinary, treating the trip as a simple inconvenience can hide a more serious fault. If there are no warning signs, think about what was running when the power stopped. Portable space heaters, hair dryers, kettles, toasters, microwaves, air conditioners, and other heating or motor loads can use a large share of a circuit's capacity. Switch off the likely device and unplug it by gripping the insulated plug body, not by pulling the cable. Also, switch off other devices that lost power on that circuit. You are not proving that an overload was the cause. You are simply removing demand before the circuit is restored. If you reset first and leave every load connected, the breaker may trip again immediately, and you learn less from the result. Locate the home's electrical service panel or load center. In many American homes, it is in a basement, garage, utility room, hallway, or another accessible service area. Your panel may include a large main breaker, breakers with test buttons, or a main disconnect located elsewhere, so it may not match this example exactly. Renters may need to contact a landlord or building manager if the panel is locked or outside the unit. Approach only when the floor and panel are dry and there is clear space in front of it. Open the normal hinged access door. Stop there. The breaker handles and directory should be visible through the installed metal front. Do not remove screws or take off the dead front cover. If wires, copper parts, or open gaps are exposed, close the door if that can be done without risk, and call a qualified electrician. Look across the rows of breaker handles. Most handles that are on will line up in the same direction, although the physical direction depends on the panel design. A breaker that was intentionally switched off normally rests fully in its off position. A breaker that tripped often rests between on and off, sometimes only slightly away from the other handles. That middle position can be easy to miss. Compare neighboring handles and look for one that is not aligned. Some breakers also have a trip indicator, but not every model does. The directory may suggest which breaker serves the room, but old labels can be incomplete or wrong. Do not remove the cover to investigate. If you cannot confidently identify an accessible handle, stop and ask an electrician or building manager. Once you have identified a likely tripped breaker and the area has no warning signs, use one deliberate reset. Follow the on and off markings on your own panel. Move the handle firmly all the way to off. This first movement matters because a handle in the tripped middle position may not reset if you simply push it toward on. After it reaches the full off position, move it to on. The motion should be controlled. Do not hold the handle in place, repeatedly flip it, or use a tool. If the handle feels damaged, unusually loose, will not move normally, or refuses to remain on, leave it off and call a licensed electrician. A successful movement only tells you that the mechanism reset. It does not prove that the circuit is free of faults. If the breaker is on but the outlets are still dead, look for a GFCI receptacle. This is the outlet with test and reset buttons, commonly found in bathrooms, kitchens, garages, basements, laundry areas, and outdoors. One GFCI can protect additional outlets downstream, so the receptacle that interrupted your room may be somewhere nearby rather than beside the dead device. Check likely locations on the same level and around sinks or exterior walls. Only touch a GFCI that is dry, intact, and free of heat, odor, or damage. Press reset firmly and release it. If it restores power, the button should remain set. If it will not reset, shows an abnormal warning indication, or immediately trips again, do not keep pressing it. Leave the affected equipment disconnected and arrange professional help. Return to the affected area and test with the known working lamp. If power is restored and remains stable, leave the suspected high-load appliance unplugged for now. Avoid recreating the same combination of loads until you understand what happened. If the breaker or GFCI trips again, that is your stop signal. Leave the breaker off when practical, do not perform repeated resets, and contact a licensed electrician or building manager. Also stop if the breaker stays on, but the circuit remains dead. That can indicate another protective device, a failed connection, damaged equipment, or a problem outside this beginner procedure. You do not need to diagnose which one. The safe result of this lesson may be restored power, but it may also be a clear decision to call for help. After the circuit is stable and the immediate problem is resolved, make the next outage easier. Read the panel directory and compare its description with what you just confirmed. Replace vague labels such as plugs or bedroom with a useful location, such as upstairs front bedroom outlets, but only when you know the description is correct. Write on the directory provided with the panel, or use an appropriate separate label without covering safety information. Photograph the completed directory and keep the image with your home records. Do not remove the panel cover, trace wires, or experiment with breakers merely to create labels. A professional can map unclear circuits safely. Good records are valuable because they shorten the time spent searching during a future problem. The safe sequence is simple. First, check whether the outage affects one device, one area, or the whole home. Stop for heat, odor, sound, smoke, sparks, water, or damage. Remove the likely load. At a normal closed panel, find the misaligned handle, move it fully to off, and then to on. If power remains off, check a dry, intact GFCI. Finally, test once with a known working lamp. If the protection trips again, will not reset, or the circuit stays dead, stop and call a professional. You have not failed when you reach that boundary. Recognizing when a simple reset ends and electrical work begins is the most important skill in the lesson.